everybody, welcome. We're going to do a few basic strength exercises today that will keep you going. And these are actually 7 of my favorites. Feel free to stop the video at any time and take it at your own pace. Usually for strength exercises, we do 8 to 12 repetitions. And then we do another set of that 8 to 12 repetitions. So 2 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions. And how you choose whether you're doing 8 to 12 is basically when you get to fatigue. So if you get to fatigue at 8 repetitions, stop there. If you get to fatigue at 12 repetitions, stop there. If you feel like you could go beyond 12, you might need to move to a variation that is a little more challenging. So maybe holding something heavy in the squats and things like that. I'll talk about that as we go through. So first one we'll do the first few that we'll do is for the lower body for legs. So we'll start with the basic squat. And you could put your hands at your waist, you could bring your hands in front, you could take your hands back to your low back. Start with your feet hip width distance maybe, or even a little wider with the feet pointing straight ahead. Take a nice inhale as you just begin here, and then exhale to sit down into the squat. Inhale, come up, exhale to squat. So again, 8 to 12 repetitions of this. And I'm just going to turn to the side while I'm doing this so that you can see that as I'm sitting back, I'm keeping my body weight into the main part of my feet. I could even lift my toes up a little bit off the ground. So that ensures that my knees are protected. Sometimes people will find this easier if their hands are in front. So this is a basic squat. And then when you're done, come up, just take a little walk around. Before you do the second set, you'll always want to kind of take a break of about the same amount of time as it took you to get through the first set. So in this little video, I'm not going to repeat every single set, but I'll repeat some of them so that we can just talk them through and make sure that you are comfortable with them. So this squat again, 12 repetitions down and up. This time I've got my hands at my low back, which is fine. Some people like to do squats with the arms overhead. That can be a little bit tense for the trapezius muscle at the back of the neck, but if it feels good for you, go for it. And then after you've done 8 to 12, just again, walk around for a minute. So in this video, be sure to pause whenever you need the time because some of you will do 8, some of you will do 12. Now, a nice variation to this squat is to add the side leg press. That uses the abductor muscles on the outsides of the legs, which are often used eccentrically, as in braking when we're walking or running. So for this one, I might put my hands at my waist, same foot position, squat down, side leg press up right, squat down, side leg press up left. And for these, we would do 8 to 12 repetitions each side. So if you're counting, you're gonna end up doing like 16 to 24. So this is a squat with a side leg abduction, abduction. And just for the sake of time, I'll stop right there, but feel free again, continue, squat, abduct, 8 to 12 repetitions, 2 sets. Another one that I like for the legs is a single leg squat. And this can actually be done with a prop. So I like to just take my watch off, balance myself on my right leg. Actually, I'm balancing on my left, but I'm mirroring you right now. So balancing on your right leg, squat to place that watch down, squat to pick it back up. Again, release it down, bring it back up, down, and bring it back up. And again, continuing this, 8 to 12 repetitions. I'm turning sideways now so that you can see that I'm actually bending my legs slightly as I go down. So I'm kind of working through the quads. But this movement of bending the leg and letting the other leg go back is a way of protecting the muscles in the low back. So the work is really happening through the legs mostly. So once you've done 8 to 12 repetitions on one leg, you'll repeat the same thing, 8 to 12 repetitions on the other leg. Oops, losing my balance there. Just maybe take a moment to settle in, find your grounding in that new leg. Push your prop down, come up, pick up the prop, come up. I I like the watch because it's light. I mean, you could just touch the ground if you wanted to, but sometimes actually having to get something forces us to just be a little more precise with our movement and to challenge our balance a little bit more. So 8 to 10 repetitions, 8 to 12, repetitions each side, 2 sets of each. So now we'll move on to our final lower body leg exercise. Another variation on a squat, but this one, a wide-legged squat with the toes turned out. And feel free to play around with what position is most comfortable for you. Hands at the waist, the hips, at the low back, wherever feels most comfortable for you. Squat down first time, and just check that your knees are kind of over your ankles, and you might have to wiggle your feet to position that. And then from here, the emphasis is as you come up, actually, to imagine squeezing those inner thighs toward each other and come to a place where your legs almost straighten up, but not exactly. And then release back down. Squeeze the inner thighs together, release back down. Squeeze. So what can happen is that we tend to squeeze the glute muscles, which we've already worked on the squats and on those one-legged squats. So right now, our brain is really focused on those muscles in the inner thigh, which is a nice balance to the squat with the side leg press to work those muscles of the inner thigh. And if the muscles on the inner thigh and outer thigh are strong, then that protects the knee joint, gives it some stability. Again, 8 to 12 repetitions on this. And when you're done, coming up on that final squeeze, walking the feet together, and then just taking your time walking around. If you're wondering how long you should just take a break between, you can simply count out the breaths. So maybe count out 12 breaths. If you're doing 8 to 12 repetitions, that's kind of a nice little time for your recovery. So now we've done some lower body stuff. Let's go to core and upper body stuff. My favorite is the plank. And you may want to use some props in your house. So even a couch could be used. If going to a plank on the ground is just too intense for you, you could actually plank on your couch. Or you could plank on stairs or on a table. You may also, if it's just too hard on the ground, use a rolled up blanket. I've got a bolster here, but you can use a rolled up blanket. And you could place your arms, forearms, shoulder width apart. Take one leg back and then the other leg back. And simply hold your plank. Feel the steadiness. If you kind of imagine that the forearms are dragging back and the feet are dragging forward, it really engages the abdominals. And a really nice variation on this, instead of simply holding a plank, is to dip the hip very slightly to one side, level it out, and then dip the hip to the other side and level it out. So you could do 8 to 12 dips to each side. So that would total tips be 16 to 24 dips. This is actually my preferred variation of a plank, because when we just do plank, you're simply really mostly engaging the transverse abdominis, and this brings in oblique abdominals. And those oblique abdominals really protect our low back. Once you've done 8 to 12 repetitions, taking that break. And again, maybe your break is 8 to 12 breaths. And then moving back into another set of planks. So I won't do that right now out of the interest of time for my recording, but feel free to stop the video and do them yourselves. Now, we can do upper body, similar to a plank. We can do a push-up. I love push-ups. A lot of people that I see doing push-ups, they end up positioning their arms in such a way that as they come down into the push-up, the elbows go out wider than the hands. So be sure when you're doing this push-up that your hands are nice and wide, so that when you lower down to the ground, your elbows are stacked over your wrists, and then you exhale to push back up. Inhale to lower, exhale to push back up. And keep doing that. Inhale to lower, exhale to push back up. And again, use a couch as a variation, or go to a bench, or go to your stairs, something to make it a little bit easier. Doing a push-up from the floor is extremely challenging. And one way to improve in those push-ups is to start from a higher elevation, so maybe even a countertop, even a wall, And then after you've done them for a couple weeks, take it down a notch until eventually you're on the floor. Just always checking in that your hands are wide so that when you lower, the elbows are in line with the wrists. So that's your push-up. I really encourage you to do the elevation change rather than doing the push-up from the knees. So this is a common thing that you see in magazines, like the push-up where you do it from the knees. And the only thing that I see about this is that sometimes people tend to do this and it bothers their knees. So why not do it from a higher elevation from the toes and eventually make your way down to the floor on the toes. And so now our last upper body exercise for today is going to be a side plank, which I actually think is probably the most important core strength exercise that we can do. Again, like the push-up, like the regular plank, maybe try it from a place of elevation. So on a couch or your stairs are a great place to do this because you can actually do it from your forearm. Your forearm can be on the tread of the stair, and your upper arm can be pushed up against the riser, so you're really supported in that. Once you've got your position on the stair or on your couch, then the trick is to maybe start with the feet wide a little bit and come up, lifting that hip up off, and then maybe working your feet closer together. Eventually you may want your feet stacked. You could bring an arm up or you could bring it to your low back. The real important cue here is to remember to keep the head pulled back. A lot of people seem to want to look at their feet doing this, but pull the head back. And if you love this challenge, just like in the regular plank, making it a little dynamic by lowering the hip down, bringing it back up. 8 to 12 repetitions of these dips on each side for 2 sets. Now this plank could be done from your hand if you would prefer, if it's not so comfortable on your forearm, whatever you prefer. And again, even from the hand, you could be doing this from an elevation. So that's it for me. Just a few little quick exercises that you can do. And when I have a little more time, I'll video something and just go through 8 repetitions of everything together. So have a great day, and hope you get out for a walk.